Gentlemen, hey, congratulations on this new reboot of Deathstalker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what? This bring back my 80s and 90s and I just missed these type of films. But let me throw the first question to Steven. Steven, I don't think I think you're too young to remember the 80s and 90s of the original Deathstalker movies. So tell us about how you came across of this and how this project came about with you.
I mean, I was born in the 80s, so I was like right on the tail end of the video store era. I did grow up in it. And I mean, as a kid, I definitely remember seeing the covers of the Deathstalker movies in the video store and thinking they looked super awesome and promised a lot of monsters that they ultimately didn't deliver. But my first memory of Deathstalker was a friend of mine describing the plot to me when we were kids, like in elementary school, because his older brother let him watch it. That's typically the trickle down effect of finding out about various R-rated movies is somebody's older brother lets them enjoy it. And so, yeah, my friend Kieran was describing this movie to me and just making it sound so violent and so nudity filled that I was like blown away as a kid. I couldn't believe it. I was a little like scared at the thought of this very intense adult sounding fantasy movie. So when I finally got around to it as a teenager, it definitely didn't like deliver on those crazy expectations, but I did enjoy it. I enjoy the whole franchise. Um, I'm more of a Deathstalker 2 head personally, but I'm also just a huge Jim Wynorski fan. So, of course, I'm going to champion any of his movies. But that one is the most fun to me. That's the one that's the most inspiring to me. So, yeah, I feel like that's what I pulled from more than anything for this film.
Well said. Daniel, tell us about getting on board with this project and learning how to sword fight for something that's a lot different from your previous action stuff.
Well, I was really excited. I got a call from our producer, Michael, who said, "Hey, listen, I got this franchise we're doing, and the director, Steven, he really likes you and he wants you to play Deathstalker." And I was like, "I'm in." He goes, "Well, let's set up a meeting." So Steven and I connected. We started talking. He pitched me the idea, and I was like, "I'm in." He pitched me the idea about me fighting monsters and sword fighting and running around in a shirt and tight pants. And I was like, wanted to make me this grizzly guy, this tough looking guy. I was like, long hair. And I was like, dude, I'm in. And we just connected. And he sent me the script, and the script was so much fun. And what I really connected with also was the comedy in the script. It was so funny. And I was like, this will be really fun to play. And now you may not know this gig, but sword fighting is something I've done for many, many years. I'm a martial arts guy, but sword fighting is part of what we do. So I've been doing a lot of sword fighting my whole life. So when Steven asked me, "Hey, do you know how to sword fight?" I'm like, "Do I know how to sword fight? I guess I do." And then Steven was very cool. He let me bring in two of my guys, Lee and Shane, were these incredible sword fighters, and they helped with the choreography. They were absolutely amazing.
That is amazing. Stephen, how did you want to craft this story? Because, this is coming out of the Roger Corman era, which, we're in the post Me Too era, and none of these type of films would fly today. So how did you want to craft it to make it your own today?
Well, I think the big thing was pulling from not just Deathstalker, like a movie that is probably more shots of topless women than shots without topless women in that film. So I thought, like for me, just personally, I'm a nerd for monsters and like just fantasy, like actual fantasy stuff, like Lord of the Rings and uh, Krull and Sword and the Sorcerer. So I was pulling more in a broader sense from fantasy as a concept and not just films, but also like as a kid, I used to play Magic cards. There's this video game Hexen that I was actually playing the hell out of as I was writing the script, and it definitely influenced the script in a lot of ways. So I was pulling from multiple fantasy sources, not just Deathstalker, and I think also just my sensibilities. I, even though this movie has intense violence and gore and has very adult moments to it, I'm ultimately a very like childlike filmmaker. I like kind of childlike whimsy and childlike relationships. Like all my movies inevitably have some kind of hug in them as a show of affection, and they're all about friendship and family. So I want to maintain that with this film as well, and I think that was a way of kind of steering away from the more dated elements of those films. I mean, it also helps that I am a creature effects artist by trade, and so I could actually pack this movie with monsters in a way that those movies from the '80s couldn't really afford to do. They could afford to get a woman to take her top off. They couldn't afford to build a giant two-headed troll thing. So, yeah, I think I just had an advantage there to actually deliver on those monsters featured in the poster art for these films, and finally deliver on that promise.
I know. I almost thought it was an extension of Psycho Gorman that I've seen so many times myself. And speaking of topless, Daniel, how did you keep your shirt on throughout this entire film, whereas all the previous Deathstalkers went bare-chested, which I never quite figured out why.
I mean, we almost did. There almost was a fantasy equivalent of a shower scene with Deathstalker that we were
Which
going to
we
do
were
that we kept
laughing
riffing on.
so hard. That was so funny. We want to do a scene where I do like a naked shower scene in a waterfall, and Doodad is going like, "Ooh."
Yeah, Doodad would be watching the whole time, and we'd have a puppet head of Doodad with his eyes bugging out as he's staring at Daniel's butt. It was. I mean, we'll do it in the next one, maybe.
Maybe in a sequel. I listen. I think like Stephen was saying earlier. I think we wanted to make this movie gritty. I mean, Steven wanted to make this movie gritty and tough. And if I run around with no shirt, I think it was enough to do this. I think I got to really give a shout out to our costume department. They did such an amazing job. They built this costume for me.
Oh
This is
yeah,
it's all handmade. It's
Mm.
unbelievable. And I much rather wear that and just show a little bit. You don't have to show everything,
yeah. We got to see your guns, and like that's
Gah!
that's plenty satisfying. Yeah, like look at that. That's the money right there.
That is,
maybe in the sequel, I'll take a shirt off.
I think
I
so.
guess
I think we could do that.
that's true. I mean, we did have four previous Deathstalkers. So Daniel, when you approach to stunts and fight choreography, how do you handle that with people who are in really tough costumes that Steven designed for them?
So I was not the fight coordinator on this movie. We brought in our friends Lee and Shane and Alex, but it was actually very tough because a lot of people ask me what was one of my favorite scenes in Deathstalker was actually our opening, which we shot on the first day, and that kind of gave the vibe of the film, and we all kind of went like, "Holy moly, we got something really special there." Me fighting in my costume with the long hair, with a big sword, fighting Dreadites in costumes. What we
Yeah.
didn't realize is how hard it was for them to fight. But we had some of the best stunt guys in Canada, and they did such an amazing job. I mean, they had to do flips and they had to fall and get back up while I just was fighting them. And it was difficult for them. We figured it out, and I think that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and just something that I really loved. Steven came up to me and he goes, "Hey Daniel, how do you feel if I don't show your face for the first like 7 minutes?" I'm like, "What a great idea! I love it." He goes, "You cool with that?" I'm like, "Absolutely! It's your vision, it's your movie," and I think that's one of the best parts in the film because you don't he doesn't show me. He just sees my fighting, and then at the end, he establishes me in the tavern, which I thought was so cool. The way you did that scene was first class.
Well, and that's what I love about working with Daniel is he's such a like movie lover and movie guy. He gets the language and that, talking in cinematic terms, talking in holding off on a reveal until a specific time. Like I feel like we those are such easy conversations to have with you because like you understand the language of film really well. And so it allowed us to play around and come up with cool stuff and yeah, really just like get creative on the day, especially with like what's a way to shoot this that is maybe like not just the most straightforward coverage way. Like what's in it, doing like split diopters and stuff through the movie, like that kind of stuff was really fun. And yeah, Daniel was totally on board, and it was fun to collaborate with him on
Yeah.
that.
We had such a good time doing this. I mean, I loved every minute of it, and you know, I love my directors. So for me, directors are very important because he had this movie in his brain for many, many years where I come on board for 3 months. So his vision is so much bigger than what I have. So I give my 5 cents, but Stephen really beautifully guided me through this film and he knew exactly what he wanted. He explained it to me, and I just did what he told me to do. So it's his fault.
Yep, all my fault. I'll
All
take
his
it.
fault.
Well, I do have to admit, this is a lot of fun, and it's a lot more fun than a lot of the Deathstalkers. I mean, I could say some of the Deathstalkers was kind of unbearable to watch, but this film was a lot of fun, and
That's good.
not to mention that I would have loved to pick up that four-bladed sword and try to wield it because that must be the most awkward thing to hold on to. So,
Trust
Yeah, I
me.
mean,
Trust me. That was like, huh? Oh, one blade is gone. Hang on, we gotta fix it. And you
yeah.
know what? Go ahead.
At one point, our DOP Andy suggested that Daniel spin the sword in his hand, and when he did that, the whole thing just flew apart. It
Let's
was,
fell apart.
yeah, it's like a gentle breeze would decimate it.
It was
So yeah,
amazing. And we were laughing so hard, but you know
yeah,
what? You will never know in the movie.
yep,
We made it work, you know?
yeah. That's just how it goes on these budget movies. You just
Yeah.
figure it out.
We figured it out, and we did, and it was beautiful.
well, three more Deathstalkers for you guys, hopefully. So thank you very much, Daniel.
Yes,
Thank you
please.
very much, Stephen, for speaking to us about this new
And
Deathstalker.
people, go see it in theaters October 10th. Don't forget.
Yep.
Well said. Thank you very much.